I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, November the 14th, brought to you in part by New Generation Supplements, makers of Smart Lick. They have 70 unique formulas supporting most environmental situations, all designed to work with supplement, other forages, or mixed rations to improve the nutrient absorption of an animal's rumen and gut. For more information, go to newgensupplements.com. Also, Beaver County Stockyards, Beaver, Oklahoma, their regular cattle auction here today on Tuesday, expecting just over 4,000 head. Another big run for them. Going to have a lot of calves, of course, a lot of big strings of calves, selling 2,700 to 3,000 calves in all. Only about a quarter of them will be weaned, but the overwhelming majority of them will have at least one round of shots in them. And like I said, they got a lot of long strings. One 700 head string of red baldy calves weighing mostly in the light fives. Be a lot of bigger strings of 100, 200, and 300 head of calves coming through. The biggest bulk of those bunches will sell from 10:30 in the morning till 1 o'clock in the afternoon. If you get on to DVAuction.com, you can view and bid those big strings of calves coming through. Also got nearly 1,000 head of yearlings. There'll be 5 loads of 8 and 9 weight true yearling steers there, 4 loads of 7 and 8 weight yearling heifers, and 1 load of 6 weight grazing yearling steers, which you don't find very often this time of the year, guys. Also at noon, they are going to be having a fundraiser, probably like a rollover type auction, to support the 7 fire departments in Beaver County, Oklahoma. They are so important in that country. It's famous for having wildfires there. They've got 7 fire departments going to raise some money for them. If you want to get involved in that or view and bid that sale, get on to DVAuction.com. And that's going to happen starting at 9 o'clock on Tuesday morning here. CME PTSD. I think all of us have it. And the first time we look at the board each morning now, we're kind of looking through our fingers there because we're scared of what it might say, and we understand what it's capable of. We're fully aware of what it can do. We've got so many big interests that want to tank the board. We've got very few interests on the long side. The changes that CME has made over the last several years has ran most of your longs off. Interest is up. There's other places to put your money. They don't have to bet on higher cattle. But we don't trust the board at all. It's kind of like an old cow that's fooled you once before, even though she might be a deadhead. If she's fooled you once, she's probably going to fool you again, and you don't ever take your eye off of her when you get in there. And that's kind of the way we feel about your board right now. But it's kind of behaved here on Friday's session and on Monday's session. It hasn't recouped a whole lot of what we lost there in the middle part of last week, but it hasn't gone down anymore, so that's thankful of that. And we saw a little bit of recovery here on Monday. Your board acted pretty good, but like I said, we know what it's capable of. If you looked at the daily livestock report, you saw that we have now seen what our average the analysts are for your cattle on feed report that's coming out this Friday. And it does, the analysts' guesses look kind of bearish, and that's what they blamed that Thursday $6 down futures on, was that it appeared bearish. But I think there's reasons to think that this cattle on feed report could be bullish, and we definitely need a bullish cattle on feed report. But your slow harvest by your packers is back your cattle up a little bit, and so we have a few more on feed than we were expecting for this report. Your on feed inventories for November the 1st are pegged to be 101.9, so that'd be just under 2% more than the same report a year ago. It's a little hard to believe, but that's what they say. Your placements in October, I think that's where we have an opportunity to see some bullishness. They've got your placements in October pegged at 106.1. It just doesn't seem to me like that we've been moving that many cattle into the feed yards here in October. I might be wrong, but if it gets anywhere close to that, I would be surprised. I'm thinking your placements are going to be much closer to 100% than that 106.1. So that does encourage me that I think there's room to see some bullishness in this report. Your marketings are not as bad, nearly as bad as last month. They're coming in at 98% of a year ago. They were just over 90 last month. So all in all, I think we've got some hope. Like I said, I just hate it that we have to just live in fear of this cattle on feed report. It doesn't hardly seem fair, but that's the ways of the world. So I guess we'll just wait and see what happens on Friday. But now we at least know what your analysts, the average of the analyst's guess is, and we can kind of look to that and see what we think might happen. Let's look at your board for Monday to start the week. December live cattle futures were up 75 cents at 174.92. February was up 60 cents at 175.25. Back months on live cattle up 47 cents to up 85 cents. So consistently higher, which makes us feel kind of good. November feeder cattle were up $1 even at 230.72. January up 187, and all this is right in the face of sharply higher corn futures. January was up 187 at 228.30, and your back months of feeder cattle futures were all higher, up $1.12 to up 145. So we did regain some of that ground that we lost there, but you know, when they take it off in $6 and give it back to us in 1 or 2, it takes a lot of friendly sessions to get back where we were. But December corn up 13.25 cents a bushel at 477.25. November beans up 34.5 cents a bushel, closing regular trading at 13.68. I had a friend of mine, a Feeder Flash gang member, sent me a message on Monday, said, well, I guess we've run out of corn and beans. And I said, well, shoot, I was just up in South Dakota early last week and they were piling it on the ground. So I think we've still got plenty. But Kansas City hard red winter wheat for December up 1.5 cents a bushel at 641.5. Your weighted average on last week's negotiated fed cattle trade out of your 5-area feeding region was only 42,200 head, much lighter than the previous week's light run of 55,200, and just over half of the same week a year ago, which was 81,300. Live sales of steers and heifers in the 5 area ranged from 174 to 182. That was $4 to $7 lower. Pretty widespread there. There was only 120 head at 174, just under 1,100 head at 182. Most of the cattle brought 180. Your weighted average on live steers in the 5 area was 179.91, down $4.98. So lost $5 last week in your cash fat cattle market. Last week on your futures, your live cattle futures, we lost about $10. So about half what we lost on the futures. Your dress trade last week ranged from 276 to 290. There was just over 1,000 at 276, only 83 head at 290. Most of them bring around 286. But that price spread was $2.75 to $11 lower. Your weighted average on dressed steers last week was 286.14, down 578 compared to the previous week. Your market as a whole, though, in the northern plains was $3 to $7 lower, from 178 to 181.50. Your dress sales from $5 to $9 lower, from 283 to 287. Southern plains sold $4 to $5 lower, from 180 to 181. Nationwide, we sold 50,300 head negotiated. That's nothing. 69,500 the previous week, and 102,300 the same week a year ago. So well under half what we sold the same week a year ago. Of that 50,300, 44% of them, which is a higher percentage but still hardly any head count, sold for the 2 to 4 week delivery, which we like to keep that under wraps. Negotiated grid added up to 41,500. Forward contracts 14,900. And formula sales, your AMAs, 250,800, which sounds like a lot, but it's lighter than what it typically is. Of your 4 or 5 area feeding regions that we get information from, Iowa sold 16,600 last week. Nebraska sold 14,500 last week. Both of those about half what they normally sell. Kansas sold 8,100, and Texas only 3,000 head out of all the feedlots in western Oklahoma, eastern New Mexico, and the Texas Panhandle. Unbelievable. Box beef cutout values were mixed. Choice cuts were down $2.61 Monday afternoon at $297.85. Selects were up $1.82 at $269.24. Your slaughter, 125,000 estimated for the first day of the week, which is about normal. Talk about what else is going on. Your night latch group, which is Andy or Codell Cunningham there in western Oklahoma, even down in the lower part of the Texas Panhandle. But they offer crop insurance, PRF, lack of rainfall insurance, livestock risk protection, and livestock gross margin. Talk to them about how they use those gross margin policies to hedge the risk on your corn and your cattle at the same time. For more information, go to nightlatch.net. Talk about your feeder cattle markets. Your real-time index on DVAuction late in the day on Monday sitting at 227.33, down another $2.15. It's a 7-day moving average. Your Monday sales hadn't seen the lower markets yet. Your CME is starting to abide. The latest available was for Friday, and it was 231.40, so it's coming down there where it belongs. Your big sales on Monday, Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City had 9,200 head. Didn't have a good test of true feeder cattle. The few feeder cattle that they had on hand sold $5 to $12 lower in a light test, and that could be part of the sharply lower market was because it was a light test. But most calves, your bigger steer calves and all your heifer calves sold $4 to $8 lower, which is not as severe as your late week sales last week. And then your long weaned lightweight steers, just right to turn out on wheat, weighing around 4.5 to 5.5, something like that. They sold $10 to $15 higher. So didn't pay any attention to what went on with the board last week. So that was kind of encouraging, but lot of wheat pasture. I mean a lot. That wheat in central Oklahoma and southern Oklahoma is rank, guys. That moisture came just right when it come through there, and it's going to take a lot of calves to graze that, and that's going to be winter wheat demand that we haven't seen here for quite a while. Joplin Regional Stockyards, they sold cattle $6 to $12 lower on their sale. And don't forget, they got the big cow sale special coming up here this Wednesday at Joplin Regional Stockyards. They got the weigh-ups in the morning. The special starts at 4:30. Got 3 loads of fancy bred heifers on there and a lot of bred cows and pairs. Also, 7 o'clock on Friday evening, Show Me Select Replacement Heifer special there at Joplin Regional Stockyards, so a lot going on there. Your NationalBeefWire stick-out sale of the day was Faith Livestock Auction in Faith, South Dakota. They had 10,500 head. They weighed mostly from 400 to 600 pounds, as you can see by this automated market report through Cattle Market Central. Look at your best tested weights. How about 1,151 head of 4-weight steer calves in Faith? They average 465 and bring 299.66. Thought that was pretty good. How about 1,777 5-weight steer calves in Faith, South Dakota? They average 553 with a weighted average price on all of them at $278.51. How about heifers? They are keeping a few heifers back. We can see that. 986 head of 4-weight heifer calves average 455 at $263.30, and 409 head of 5-weight heifer calves average 529 at $247.58. So great sale there at Faith Livestock Auction, Faith, South Dakota. Some individual quotes. How about Sioux Falls Regional Livestock? Worthing, South Dakota. That's a DVAuction broadcaster. They have sales nearly every day, and you can view and bid those there on DVAuction. But how about this long string of big steers I thought sold impressively. 262 head, 985 pound steers, bring 223. Stick out deal from Faith. 105 steer calves weighed 524 at $315.50. That's not that much cheaper, guys. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Monday, your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Russell Livestock Market in Russell, Iowa. Another DVAuction broadcaster there. They sold 60 head of steers, weighed 906, and bring $236.50. That's your feeder flash for Tuesday.